What up? This is Rama Screen, and in the anticipation of Redemption Day, arriving in theaters January 8th and on digital and on demand January 12th, I'm here talking with one of the stars of this new film, the beautiful Serinda Swan. How are you, Serinda?
I am good, thank you. What a lovely introduction. Thank you so
I
much.
thank you for taking the time. Serinda, I just want to say I'm geeking out right now because I was such a huge fan of Smallville, and I loved your performance as Zatanna. Oh my God.
Thank you. That was actually, it's so funny. That was my first guest star. I had gone out for Smallville probably for every single role that you loved. I was always, because I lived in Vancouver and they shot the show in Vancouver, and they always liked casting LA actresses. And so I was always the number two. I was like, if we cast Canadian and local, it's you. And then it would always go. And I remember when the role of Zatanna came up, and they didn't actually say who it was. It was a role called Cassie. And I was like, I guess I'm going out for Cassie. And and I got a phone call once I booked it from TV Guide saying, congratulations, this is a really big role that you're getting, Zatanna. And I was like, no, I'm Cassie. And they're like, no, you're Zatanna. And I was like, Zatanna. And I Googled it, and she had the dark hair and the eyes. And I was like, oh, I'm Zatanna Zatara. This is so, I mean, I will say it's probably the hardest superpower out of any superhero. I like, as much like, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but to try and sound sexy, like try to seduce Superman while speaking backwards. It's not like a beautiful language. Like I remember it was like, I'm like, you sound like you're inhaling a sneeze and then like choking. Like nothing was, yeah, it was a thing. It was a, but I would happily don the unitard and hat and all of that again. I would love to play
Yes.
her again.
Your version of Zatanna was my favorite. So yes, I'm naturally happy for you for this new movie, Redemption Day, where you play Kate Paxton, co-starring Gary Durden. You're no stranger to action thrillers, on TV or in movies. So what drew you to this project? What was it about it that made you want to be involved with it?
I mean, I'll be honest, the first thing that caught my mind was that it was shooting on location in Morocco. And I was like, great, solid, because sometimes you get like, no offense to Shreveport, Louisiana, but sometimes you get like Shreveport and you're like, oh, okay. I've always wanted to go to Morocco. And I thought the character had a lot of, there was a lot of capacity to show a different side of a woman in trouble. I think, the typical damsel in distress with the, veteran husband that comes and saves her, I think could be done in a way that everyone goes, yeah, I've seen it. And it's not as interesting if you have one stagnant character and the other one is like romantically slow motion running with guns and explosions to come save her. That's not what we want. And so when I talked to Hisham about it, I was like, look, if you want me to play this role, I have a very specific opinion on who this character is. And she's capable and she's grounded, and she's very she has an ability to be able to be there for her husband with his PTSD and not make him into a victim of it, but allow him to be capable as well, and allow the room for him to be broken, or I like to say he's cracked, not broken. And so for me, it was just, I saw that there was an opportunity to ground the movie in the character Kate, because there's a lot going on with the action and the guns and the politics and all of this. And I really wanted there to be a character in the film that felt like a grounding force, that
Hmm.
felt like there was a human element that was pulled throughout the movie. So that was my goal, was to be able to bring this kind of more, um, some normalcy in a very unnormal situation.
And it came off really well on the screen. So
Oh,
kudos to
good.
you on that. Yes.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I gotta ask that. So Kate is archaeological professor, correct?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, what was your research or process into embodying Kate on that aspect, or did you just rely on the script for that?
I did some digging.
Mm.
Oh, wow. That was such a bad pun. I love puns so much. I'm so proud. That was an unplanned pun. Um, I did some digging of my own. Yeah, I did some research of my own, where I just, looked up sort of obviously the region and the area in which she was doing her
Mm.
archaeological dig. and sort of the history and background of the politics and what was going on in Algeria at the time. And I didn't want it to make, it's not our goal to make anybody or any country the villain. It's not meant to be that. It's so on the nose. I think it's more interesting for me to play the complexity of issues rather than like the obvious notes of like good, bad. So I wanted to make sure that I could represent Kate as an intellectual, as somebody that she's gone through it because Brad's gone through it. And so yeah, I usually do quite a bit of digging on my characters, so it wasn't any different with Kate.
And congrats on having gone to Morocco for the first time. I've never been there. I know that Morocco is Hollywood's go-to place for stories with Middle East backdrop.
Mhm.
But this is a fun question. I'm just curious. Like, it looks like a place where I would have to be walking around with a mini portable handheld fan. Was it really that hot there? What was that experience for you?
It's a little warm. um I think we shot it in March.
Oh,
The
okay.
weather was quite nice. Like I will say, the weather wasn't something where we were sweltering all the time. I mean, a week before there was frost on the ground. So it was like, yeah, because the first part that we shot was up in Ouarzazate, which is up in the mountains. And that was chillier while we were up there. And then we were in Casablanca and we literally went all around Morocco, which was just part of the plot. Like the benefits of doing what I do is, sometimes you shoot in the middle of nowhere. Like I'm shooting in Toronto right now, which is beautiful, but it's winter and it's like -4 degrees today. And I'm like, it's so cold. So, we get the pluses and minuses of where we work, but Morocco was absolutely beautiful. I had such an incredible cast and crew that helped me from everything from like going to the markets to ordering food to just like walking around the city, going on like day trips. When I had a day off, I drove into the Sahara Desert and camped out for 3 days with no water or electricity and just slept under the stars. And so those are the moments that you really remember and really cherish.
And the times when your character had to be bound or held captive or held hostage. I mean, seriously, I was kind of concerned for you because those scenes look discomforting. I mean, how many takes, how many days that you had to do that? And was it as painful as it looks?
No, there's no pain involved actually.
Okay.
So that we always have really incredible stunt coordinators. We had one named Khalil who was fabulous. He really made sure, because I've done so many action films or roles that are really like physical. If the actor I'm working with doesn't know how to act safely, I can alter my like how I do things so that I'm not actually like it doesn't affect me. It doesn't I'm not like physically involved with them. Um so yeah, there was no pain. I mean, every once in a while there's something that hurts or something that that there's a mistake that happens, and you have to be careful because you are working with there's still blanks in the gun, so there's still fire, there's still noise, there's still projectiles that are coming out, so there's a lot to still work with. um, but that's part of the reason why our job is really a difficult job, because you have to hold that emotion for so long. But I don't put myself in a place where I go to my own emotions or like my own past. Like I don't traumatize myself so that my character can seem like they're in trauma. I either use what the character is going through, um, or I find actually like ways to like cry from happiness. I know it sounds so weird, but I'll find things that like are like inspiring. Like I'll watch like a dog video about them like getting adopted, and I'm like, this is so sweet. And then they'll be like, I'm like, okay, hold on, I'm like happy, sad, and then I'll like pull it over and do like, that's only when I have to do like a crying scene for like 5 hours. Like on the Marvel project when they had to shave my head, I had to be crying for 5 hours while they were shaving my head. So I was like, I can't traumatize myself doing this. So I just watched really cute dog videos for you know for I think it was like 5 hours. They're like, "What are you watching? It just seems so sad." I was like, "No, no, no. It's little dogs getting adopted. It's really sweet."
Hey, whatever helps, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I gotta ask you this as I'm winding down. I gotta ask you this, Reinda, because prior to this interview, I watched that TED talk that you gave a couple of years ago. Very powerful message, by the way. But one of the things that stood out for me was when you said that Hollywood does put people in boxes, squares, and labels, what have you. I guess what I'm getting at is, what is your advice for aspiring actresses that want to break into Hollywood only to find that they will be put in these stereotypical boxes or labels, and because those rejections of their outside appearance might devastate them?
Well, that's the advice, is to try to disconnect as much as you can with the value system that this industry gives you. I know for me it's something that I still struggle with, where it's like, it seems that if you look a certain way, you're only allowed to do certain roles. And it it does seem very unfair, and it does seem frustrating, and there are boxes that you're in, but once you're in them, it's a box. You can still get out. You're bigger than the box. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If you allow them to make you, then you can also allow them to break you. And I think learning how to disengage from what other people tell you your value is, like, you're going to have to play at some point your stereotype. Like for me, I'm not angry that I had to play the like the cheerleader or the bitch or the, like, conniving girlfriend that like ruins, like, I'm like, okay, that's what we see for like a brunette, that's it. I keep
That's fine.
I keep having I'm allergic to like 5 things that are in my house right now, because whenever I move, I'm always allergic to new things. And especially with COVID, I'm like, oh my God, you're not allowed to cough. Like, you're just gonna, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I think mainly know that all of your idols aren't special. We're not special. We're exactly the same, and in that, I always say, I'm like, yeah, I'm different from everyone else, but in that I'm the exact same. And I think it's the differences that are so beautiful, and the storytelling that can come from those different perspectives. So the way that I'm going to see something for a character is through my own personal lens, and the way that you're going to see something for a character is through your own personal lens. So it's better to try to get it as an individual than try to get it as the whole group. Like sometimes I'll go in for an audition and I'm like, how do I think it's supposed to be, rather than like, how do I feel it to be? So individuality is key. I'm really excited that we're starting to celebrate that so much more. And just really doing the work inside and out. I know a lot of the times the work that my characters go through, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I could learn from that lesson too. But yeah, just know that there's no difference between you and the person you see on screen. And I'm even working and I get shy when I see, people that I really respect, but then I have to remind myself to be like, no, no, no. We're all here just like working through life as, weird little human beings trying to figure shit out. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And finally, would you be open to returning to superhero world someday, or have you closed the door on that forever?
Absolutely not. I would love to. I love being a superhero. I built my career being superheroes. Like I always say, I built my career on like using my hands. Like I did like a supernatural one where I played the goddess Veritas, and she had like a superpower, and like Medusa. I'm like, I love those kind of characters. I love fantasy. I love Marvel. I love DC. I've been lucky enough to live in both worlds. And so yeah, I would, I mean, anytime you get to do a job and you get an action figure, like it's kind of cool. Like you geek out. Like I have here one of the little action figures from Medusa that someone on my cast gave me from this project. And I just like sat there and I was like, I think it's bad how much like happiness just an action figure brings me. Like it's just, I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to do this. Like these are just cool little things that happen, but like they mean a lot. So now I would love to return to I'd love to return back to those worlds.
All right. For my fans at home, everybody go check out Redemption Day in theaters January 8th and on digital and on demand January 12th. Serinda, thank you so much for talking to me, and
Of course.
congratulations.
Thanks for having me. Talk soon.